Hello and welcome back. Today I'm building the newly re-released Audi Quattro in 1/24th scale from Tamiya. As you can see here, it's moulded in silver. Bit of prep to do to the body, including removing this support from the middle of the windscreen. There's some rather prominent mould seams in this. Much of them are moulded into the panel lines of the car. As you can see here though, these ones along the roof are quite obvious. I found that didn't matter how much I did with the sanding sticks, it was quite difficult to make them disappear. I also used the side of a craft blade. But what I decided to do was to do as best I could and then prime the car, and if I could still see them, go at them. But as it turned out, priming it did really help, and as you see later, you couldn't really see them after that. The other thing to do is if you want the engine to be visible, you can remove the bonnet clips at this time. You might want to leave it closed, depends on how you're going to display the car. But I wanted this to be painted really evenly, so removed it at this point. Attach the little clip on underside, so that means I can use that to hold it carefully when I'm painting it. I'm doing this as a replica of the car from the BBC Sci Fi police series Ashes to Ashes, as you can see here. The TV version in Italian red was also right-hand drive, which of course I'm not going to be able to replicate, but I'll do as best as possible to do the rest. So as you can see, after using the Tamiya light grey primer, the mould seams are kind of disappeared, so that's really nice. So I made sure this was as flat as possible and then removed any kind of dust and hairs, things like that, with the anti-static brush. And then this is Mr. Colour Red 3, mixed about 50-50 with their Leveling Thinners 400. Did a few coats of this, try and make sure that it was nice and even. So this kit, the paints, thinners and loads of other things that I used were from Kent Models. They've got a fantastic range of kits from brands all over the world. Check them out and use the code BOAB10 at checkout to get 10% off, and every time you use it, it helps me and the channel. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks very much. Now while I'm leaving that to cure, I go on to the interior. So these seats have got separate headrests. So just using a little bit of cement to attach those. There's a bit of a mould seam around the outside of them, so make sure to sand that down. Now the seats have actually got no back, so I cut this piece out of styrene card. It was roughly the right size, and then sanded that smooth. Here I am, sanding down those mould seams on the seat. After gluing in the headrest, I cut out this small piece of styrene sheet to go on the back of the seat. I'm not sure how much you'll see of this, but it's nice to know it's there. There, taping that down to make sure it's secure. Now the underside is all painted in matte black, and most of these parts are as well. Used this Posca paint pen just to add some silver details. You've got a reasonably detailed undercarriage. This car has got a decent amount of mechanical detail, but also it's mainly kind of pretend, if that makes sense. So you've got like a sort of partly moulded engine with some external parts. You can't actually see the engine through the undercarriage. You do have a steering control thing here. This reminds me a little bit of the Tamiya Renault 5, although of course this one was never motorised. Here's the lower parts for the suspension. A few parts in this are actually repeated, so the front and rear suspension parts are actually the same. Just got to get them the right way around. I'd added some of the lower engine detail using some silver and iron paints. Got polycaps in each of the suspension sections. shown here. So the rear suspension parts, very similar to the front. Just put it on the other way around. Then glue that in from the upper part as well. The exhaust parts were painted in steel, and I then added a little bit of black panel liner to fill out those holes as well. There's the drive shaft. Add a tiny amount of silver to that. And there's the rest of the exhaust. The wheels are from the chrome sprue, and the tyres have got Michelin markings on one side, so use that one on the outer. I think the wheels are perhaps a little bit too shiny, but yeah, I think they look alright, so I'm going to keep them like this. I dropped a little bit of black panel line accent into the nuts section, and then you've got these centre pins. Now I'm actually missing something here. I'm supposed to put the brake discs on first, but I forget, so I'll show you that in a second. Bit of firm pressure here needed. Found in places that using the end of a Sharpie like this really helped, just to drive them home. You can see them turning. And yeah, what I should have done here is add these little brake discs. These aren't great because they don't have any calipers, and you can't add calipers because they spin with the wheels. So there we are, they're all in place now. So for the engine part here, I'd initially painted it red and then did the rest in matte black. Then adding some aluminium and silver to places. Make sure you paint all these details first, as there's a few other parts to add to the engine bay. Come back to the engine in a bit, but the door cards, they've all been painted matte black, and then you've got these decals that go over the top. These are the same style doors that we used in the Car From Ashes to Ashes. It's the same pattern that's on the seats as well. I used a bit of softening solution, pushed these into place, and then after they'd settled for about a day, I went over with some matte clear coat. There we are. Now the seats here had all been painted in Tamiya brown. This is XF brown, however it came out a kind of semi-gloss finish, which was a bit irritating. Still, helped the decals settle into place. And then, just like the door cards, I went over these with matte clear coat afterwards. There we are. Did the same at the back, but also this parcel shelf was done in black. Did the little speakers in semi-gloss black, and then added the decals as well. This card does come with a driver figure, however I decided to leave him out I didn't think it looked enough like the characters from the TV programme, so I'll just use it in another build instead. Got 3 decals here for the dashboard, one little speaker on this side, or it might be a vent, I'm not sure. This little one here, which I think is to do with the drivetrain, and the instruments that go just behind the steering wheel. No decals for the steering wheel. There we are. The car in the TV programme seemed to have a kind of beige carpet, so I went with this sort of sandy coloured paint for that. And then you got things like the holder for the gear stick and the handbrake that goes behind it. I think you can tell looking at it that this kit is also used for the rally version. Very simple stripped out interior. There's also no pedals in this car. There's the rear seats. The headrests have a little black trim around the outside. There we are, interior nearly done. Add a tiny amount of silver just for the lock on the glove box, and also the door releases. And there we are, finished interior. I think this looks pretty good. Now to finish off the engine bay. The fitment of all these parts is really good. Little slots and tabs and things like that. And there we are. Then you just slot that into place. It's unusual. I don't think I've built an engine like this before. Now there's multiple decals in the kit for the trim and things like that, but if you look at the car I'm basing it on, it's been debadged at the back, and also it doesn't have the stripes down the side. I think the Audi rings are also slightly different, but I'm still going to use these ones in the kit because I like how they look. So the black ones here, they go onto the side of the door like so. I used Mr. Mark Setter with this, something else which you can get from Geneva Models, and then I'm just pushing it into place using a damp cotton bud. The light housing here is from the chrome sprue, and yeah, a lot of this you won't actually see, but it does recommend painting all of this around black. You will see this if you open the bonnet, so making sure that that's all black. I'm using Revell semi-gloss black acrylic for this. Make sure you follow the guide in the instructions about which light goes where. Sand them flat on the sides, but then they've got little tabs at the top and the bottom, which means that with a bit of firm pressure you can carefully put these into place without the need for any glue. To paint the kind of surround of them in black as well. There is like a little lip to show you where exactly this needs to be painted. You might want to do this before adding the lights, like I'm doing here. And then if you do scratch off any paint, just top it up afterwards. And then here is how it looks with the radiator. And then I'm doing the Audi logo in this silver Posca paint pen. There's no decal for this, so yeah, you need to have a steady hand, but using something like this is really helpful. There we are. Attach that using a bit of super glue. And there you can see how it will look. Paint the back of these indicators in silver. And then the indicators themselves half in orange. I also used a bit of black to do a kind of rubber trim around the outside. Now you can put these into place without the need for any glue. It's a bit fiddly. Just need to push them in the right way and they should stay in place on their own. Kit comes with two sets of number plates, either a German one or just a kind of blank one with Audi Quattro written on it. But here's my custom one for the car in the TV programme. And that's how it'll look. Got very small side marker indicators. These are from the clear sprue. They need to be red around the outside and then clear orange in the middle, so yeah, take care when you're doing those. Now for this light strip at the back, again I'm using red and orange Sharpies going from the inside. Now the bodywork has now been clear coated with some Tamiya LP9 clear gloss. But as you can see, it's not perfect, so I'm going to wet sand it and polish it. But areas like this vent on the C-pillar, I'm going to mask off just to stop any damage being done to it. Now the good thing about this car is that it does have these kind of straight panels down the side. So if you cut the sanding paper, here I'm using 3000 grit sandpaper, to the right width, you should be able to do this without nicking anything accidentally. And then I'm using some Maguire's polish. And a Tamiya polish applicator. I was careful with this one and didn't burn through. There we are. Once you've done that, I decided to do the window trims by brush painting. Again, I'm using Revell semi-gloss black acrylic. A bit of a bleed here, so I tried to clean it up as quickly as I could. And here's the window. Just a test fit with the chassis and interior. You can see. Now for the mirrors, I used a little bit of aluminium foil, cut to the right size. You can see the inside of that light strip has been painted silver and the upper bit in semi-gloss black. And this didn't need any glue, just pushed into place. And same with the rear number plate. However, I did add a bit of glue to this one. I didn't want it to fall out. Now I'm using a tiny amount of super glue to attach the front bumper. Don't want to do too much, don't want to damage any of the paintwork. And a very small amount of PVA for the glass section. This was very simple. Sometimes this part takes a lot of prizing, but this went together really easily. Got the wipers. And the spoiler at the back. The kit recommends doing it black, but the TV one was red. And I used the same method with this aluminium tape for the wing mirrors. These little Quattro stickers need to go in the far corner of the rear windows. Again, I used a bit of Mr. Mark Setter just to help these adhere. Pick out the keyholes in the doors. And then there are these little rear sections that go on the bonnet just to help it stay in place. There it is. And to make it look a little bit more like an 80s car from the UK, I used a tax disc. This is actually a Japanese tax disc, but I think it looks close enough to the British ones, especially from a distance. Bit of panel line accent just to fill in these vents. And there we are, it's finished. I'm going to give it a score as well. So value, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. You get it for about £30. Assembly, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Fairly simple, not too challenging. Accuracy, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Whilst it does have an engine, the underside and the brakes are a little bit lacking. Quality is good for Tamiya, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. And legacy is a 5 out of 5. This really inspiring four-wheel drive cars in the kind of sporting arena. So that gives it a pretty impressive 20 out of 25. Let me know what you think down below though. Here it is compared to the Nunu S1. As always, thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment, subscribe, like, all of those things. It really helps the channel. And also make sure you use that discount code at Kent Models. Thanks very much. I'll see you soon.